Welcome back into another edition Prime Sports World, baby. And on today's episode of the Prime, we're going to talk about them Las Vegas Raiders. I'm David Huffman. Right there is my coach, Mr. TJ Hopkins. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Without further ado, let's get into the show. TJ, how are you today, man?
I'm at work, so, there's that. Overtime.
All right, for sure. A little overtime. I do enjoy some overtime action. Let's bang out this Raiders show, as this may be the worst team in the AFC. If you're a Raiders fan, I apologize. It's just a fact. Let's talk about the storylines.
Worst team in the AFC? Come on. Don't get me mad.
Maybe not that. All right, fine. The bottom three team in the AFC. Let's talk about this offense a little bit. Derek Carr is out of the building. Jimmy Garoppolo is now the starting quarterback of this team. You still have Josh Jacobs. You still have Devontae Adams.
For now,
you have a patchwork offensive line. What will this offense be in 2023? Because Jimmy Garoppolo is not an upgrade over Derek Carr. He's just not.
No, he's not. I despise the Raiders fans who think that he is. Like, oh, Jimmy G won. He wins games. Jimmy G was carried by a very talented San Francisco team, and you saw how they did the guy that won them games, allegedly, right? You don't get rid of a guy that wins you games.
I mean, but he does win. He is a winner.
Do they win because of him? Like, bro, anytime.
If he doesn't overthrow Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl, like Patrick Mahomes doesn't win his first ring. The San Francisco 49ers win that Super Bowl. They win that game. Truth be told, he's never had over 3,900 yards. He's never thrown for more than 27 touchdowns. He's just
we can play that. We can play the what if game all we want. If Cody Parkey doesn't get a kick block, the Bears probably win the Super Bowl in 2018, right?
Yeah, maybe.
If Derrick Rose doesn't tear an ACL, the Bulls probably go to the finals.
I'm not going that far.
If the refs don't cheat the Raiders, maybe they win the Super Bowl back in 2000, whatever year the Tuck rule was, right?
It's true.
We can play the what if game till we're blue in the face.
But he's always had an excellent completion percentage. As seasons where he was the majority starting quarterback, it's in the 60s, high 60s as the completion percentage. But yeah, San Francisco moved on from him for a reason. He just doesn't have the arm strength. He doesn't take you to the next level. He's a fine bridge quarterback if you want to, like, at this point in his career. But there's no bridge to anything else. Like, there's no other quarterback on this roster that instills you with this much confidence that this will be the guy. And I don't want to hear any of the Aiden O'Connell stuff. He's just looks good in the preseason because he's playing against third stringers. Let's calm down. Josh Jacobs should still be the focal point of this offense. He should still put up damn near 1,500 yards. Devontae Adams is still a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. He should still put up over 1,500 yards receiving as well. Austin Hooper is a fine tight end. Michael Mayer was an interesting rookie at the tight end position as well. This offensive line is kind of bad. Like, we're calling it what it is. Colton Miller is a fine player, but everybody else, just offensive line is just really lackluster, as they've swung and missed on high value draft picks a lot. In the Raider, as I talk about the Raider reach in years.
The Raider reach, the classic Raider reach.
And then there are a bunch of players that they've drafted that, like, a lot of that out of the control of the Raiders, but they just didn't pan out as NFL players.
And you brought up, Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. Like, you was like, they still have them. I'm like, yeah, for now. They still have them for now. Like, we don't know what the future entails or holds. Like, they could be dealt mid-season with the way things, with the way certain things have been.
I mean, if I'm the Las Vegas Raiders, if I have an opportunity to acquire some future draft capital and get, like, even a first for. I'm trading both those guys. This is not going to be a team that, like, all of a sudden comes out of the gates and is gangbusters. Like, they're not gonna, like, they're always the surprise teams in each division that, comes out of nowhere, ends up being a playoff team.
It's not going to be them.
I don't want it to be the guy, but it's not going to be the Raiders.
It's not going to be them. So yeah, it's what is this offense going to look like? I think it depends on it's a weekly it's going to be a weekly thing for them, right? Like because like you said it, the offensive line is patchwork at best. It's not good, and it's going to be a weekly basis. It's going to be a who we playing this week, and it's going to be the classic. See, we look good this week, da 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 da,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
next week is going to be damn what happened. Like
I mean,
that's exactly.
it's going to be very similar to the Raider offense we've seen over the last 5 years. Like they'll look fantastic certain weeks, and they'll look like a dumpster fire other weeks. And the offensive line is a patchwork. I mean, outside of I guess their wide receiving core is actually not bad.
No.
Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfro. That's a pretty solid trio. Bira Dula, Zamir White, and Josh Jacobs, all solid running backs. I like their tight end room too. It's Austin Hooper and Michael Mayer. But I just don't think they have the quarterback play to get them to the next level. But we'll see. I mean, I've been wrong before. I didn't think Seattle was going to be any good. They ended up proving me wrong. So we'll see what ends up happening. But this offense is going to be different. It's going to look different every week, I think.
Okay, like you keep bringing up Seattle to point out every time you've been wrong. How many of those teams are coached by a guy like Pete Carroll of that caliber?
We'll talk about Josh McDaniels here in a minute, but
I'm not throwing Josh McDaniels in that caliber, like because he's not doing that.
It's true. I mean, he basically got fired from one, two. Has he been a coach twice? I can't remember now.
This is his second stint. This is his second stint as a coach.
Izzy, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the party. Talking about the offense in Las Vegas. What are they going to be like this season? Real quick before we move on.
Honestly, I don't think Jimmy's the right guy for the system. I mean, you gotta have a strong arm. This is a system that's they want to get it downfield. I don't see. I know he's the ultimate game manager, but they're gonna want big plays downfield, and I don't think he's gonna be able to provide that. Josh Jacobs, what the hell's going on with that? But it's gonna be a lot of Josh Jacobs, a lot of play action. They're gonna have to tailor to Jimmy's game. I know Josh McDaniels is good at that, but I mean, as an offensive coordinator, he's good at that. But as a head coach, this yet to be seen, right? So yeah, I'm hoping that Jimmy can thrive well in this Raider system, but they're gonna want him to move the ball downfield, and he doesn't have the arm for that.
Moving on from that, let's talk about Max Crosby. Do you think there's a realistic opportunity that he could potentially be the defensive player of the year when the season's all said and done? He's had 37.5 sacks over 4 seasons. He's never had less than 7 sacks, and he's gotten better basically every single season.
No.
This is a quick one. Me and TJ, TJ, we talked about this Saturday, right? And we were talking about the top 5 pass rushers.
Yeah.
And then we're looking up and we're like, yo, did we just leave out Max Crosby? Did we just leave out Joey Bosa? Did we just leave out Khalil Mack? Man, he's not going to be defensive player.
He's not going to be one because
I don't think it's because his productivity will not be warranted enough of being the defensive player of the year.
Right.
I think the team will stick. Like I think Max Crosby.
It's not that. It's that there's other pass rushers I think that are going to have better sack numbers. Max
Crosby is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Like, bro, like we seen it with his teammate. We seen it with his teammate all the time. Like, how many times do we see Chandler Jones have 15, 16, 17, 18 sack seasons and not even get a vote? Because when he was on the Cardinals, they were terrible. They weren't winning anything.
Yeah, I think Max Crosby, if he was on a better football team, I think he for sure have a chance to win defensive player. He's that impactful on the defensive side of the football.
You got to jump Nick Bosa. You got to jump Micah Parsons. You got to jump Myles Garrett. You gotta be able to jump TJ Watt.
I think the opportunity for him to win defensive player of the year is pretty small. I also think that this defense is going to stink next year. I have real question marks when it comes to their secondary, and I have real question marks about their linebacking core. Outside of Max Crosby, I don't feel great about any part of this defense. Outside of Nate Hobbs, who I know TJ's high on.
Yeah, I like Nate Hobbs.
Moving on to story number 3, let's talk about Josh McDaniels going into his 3rd season as the head coach of this football team. Is he on the hot seat? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Izzy
Should
say
be
yeah.
should be on the hot seat. I mean, you what? He's yet to make the playoffs. In his first two seasons, yet to make the playoffs. You guys, they got rid of him for a guy that actually a special teams guru guy, Rick Biasia, who actually and took them to the playoffs.
He did.
Who went through turmoil in the middle of the John Gruden
Yeah.
season
He did.
and took them to the playoffs. And we picked this guy over him. He can't even take us to the playoffs. So he
He did.
doesn't make the playoffs this year. He got to go. He's got
They
to
gotta have
go.
that. Hey, they gotta have that conversation for sure. Because Izzy just brought up a great point. I forgot all about that dude. Like you got rid,
But
like you got rid of
I also
the guy.
think I think Josh McDaniels is one of those guys that's just meant to be a coordinator. I don't think he does a good job at managing personalities good enough to be a head coach in the NFL. I just
Well,
don't.
I think what doesn't help him is so like we see it all too many times, right? Like there's a reason why like so few of Belichick disciples haven't panned out. There's only really been one, and it's Vrabel.
He's
And
not even really he's not even really a Belichick precisely. He just played for him.
but the mentality's still the same, and it follows, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I think the issue that you have with guys like McDaniels and Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, like you're not Belichick. You're not Belichick. So stop trying to be who you're not. Be yourself. And maybe things would have panned out better. Like we see it all the time. Like I think Matt Nagy tried to be too much like Andy Reid. Nagy is back where he started. So if Josh McDaniel just beat like if he's just Josh McDaniel, be Josh McDaniel. Like because that's what got him fired in Denver, right? He tried to bring some of those tactics over to Denver. And John Elway told his ass, like when he called him the first time, like, hey, we don't do that here. He called him the first time and said, we don't do that here. He called him the second time and said, hey, bro, you got to go. You're done. Because I told you the first time, don't do that BS here. And he called him. He called him twice. He said, I'm not going to give you a third time. So they were like,
I think he basically has handpicked Jimmy Garoppolo to be the quarterback that he's basically riding his job on. If this team is not competitive at all, which the jury is still very much out on, but he's going to be out of a job. Like he's for sure on the hot seat.
I mean, I get it.
He was the OC in New England, right? When he was backing up.
Yeah, he was there. That's
and he alienated Derek Carr. I mean, you didn't need to do that. Like,
definitely didn't need to do that one.
Oh yeah, you know what? Hey, I like what you brought up, David. We could probably move on after this, but you said he's a guy suited for offensive coordinator. I just remember one of my favorite scenes in Any Given Sunday when LL Cool J was in the locker room and then Crozier comes in. He's like, Crozier, you're an offensive coordinator. Shut your ass down. That's Josh McDaniels. You're an offensive coordinator. Go back to being that.
Moving on from there, let's talk about their draft. Obviously, round one, they took Tyree Wilson, edge out of Texas Tech. Michael Mayer, tight end Notre Dame, comes in to replace Darren Waller. Byron Young, defensive line out of Alabama. Trey Tucker, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. Bennett, cornerback out of Maryland. Aiden O'Connell, quarterback out of Purdue, who's got some hype around him as he's played pretty well in preseason. Christopher Smith, safety out of Georgia, as another Bulldog is drafted into the NFL. Amari Burney, linebacker out of Florida. And Nesta Jade Silvery, defensive tack out of Arizona State. Hook 'em Sun Devils.
So I think this is the first draft in a long time we don't see a Raider reach in the first round.
Yeah, I like all of these picks, actually. And you know what? Aiden O'Connell had a pretty good season at Purdue. I'm not surprised at what he's doing in the NFL, to be honest with you. He had a pretty good career at Purdue. I actually like their first three picks, man. I think Tyree Wilson is the guy we talked about. Michael Mayer, I love Michael Mayer. I thought he should have been the first time taken in the draft. Brian Young's a guy. He's an Alabama defensive lineman. Another guy, Trey Tucker, another a pretty solid wide receiver that you get out of Cincinnati. So their first four picks.
4.4 in the 40-yard dash. Should be a guy that gives you a good compliment to Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers there, even with Hunter Renfrow there. I like the defensive tackle out of Alabama, 6'3", 294 pounds. He had 47 tackles and 3.5 sacks as a senior. Both of those were career highs. 11-inch hands, 34-inch arms. He's got pretty good size to be a defensive tackle, or you can play defensive end in the NFL. Michael Mayer, 6'4", 265 pounds, checks a lot of the boxes when it comes to being a tight end who can also block a little bit.
I'm with David on this. I'm with David on this hype around Ano. Kind of like, bro, you're throwing up against dudes who's probably not gonna make the roster. Most of them aren't. Like, it's hilarious. Like,
but he does have prototypical size. I mean, we talk about prototypical size: 6'3", 213 pounds. He's got the kind of the size you look for in the quarterback. He's got a decent arm. I mean, he's making the most of his opportunity. That's for sure.
I mean, like, I would hope so. Throwing up against, fourth, fifth, and sixth stringers. I would hope so. Practice squad guys. Like,
I thought Michael Mayer, as much as everybody loves Brock Myers, I thought Michael Mayer got robbed of the Mackey Award last year. I thought he had. Well,
that's also a bias in that.
It's a little bit, but I mean, I think if he was on a better team in college, I think he would have won it. But that's neither here nor there. I think that cost him that number one. I mean, I think he's a better tight end than the kid that got picked in Buffalo. I thought he should have been the first tight end.
Dalton King. You think he's better than Dalton Kincaid?
Yeah, I think he's better than Dalton Kincaid. I think he's better than Dalton. He's gonna prove it. He'll prove it in the league. He's better than Dalton. That's might be a biased overstatement. But you know what? Hey, I'm happy that he's with the right quarterback because Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be finding him his whole rookie season as a security blanket, and Michael Mayer is going to be an all rookie next year, and he's going to be one of the best tight ends. You're going to look up, and he's going to be in top 10 tight end status next year or this season. Just mark my words, top 10 tight end status because he's playing with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's it.
Next.
Oh, you heard it here first. But yeah, the linebacker out of Florida, he was only a 1-year starter for the Gators. Gives them some depth at the linebacker position. We'll see how much he actually ends up playing. He had was it 2 forced fumbles in 13 games last season, 2 picks to go with 4 sacks. And then the 6'2" nose tackle out of Arizona State, 6'2", 304 pounds, 1.5 sacks, 4.5 tackles for loss, 56 tackles last season. Should be a decent run stopper in the NFL. And then the safety out of Georgia, a little undersized, 5'11", 192 pounds. He's going to have to bulk up, but he did have 6 interceptions in the past 2 seasons at Georgia. Gives them some depth at the safety position. I actually like what the Raiders did for the first time in a long time. I like what they did with their draft. I'm going to give this a solid beat.
I gotta look at how Christopher Smith. I haven't really been watching so much a lot of preseason of other teams. I've been watching my Packers. I haven't been watching other teams, and so I'm just looking at his. Stats. I don't even see him even on the stat sheet. Christopher Smith from Georgia. So, take that as it is. So,
yeah, I don't. Yeah, we'll see. But I think this is a solid B+, B- draft for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I'm gonna give it a B. I'm not gonna give it a B. I'll give it a solid B. I like the first 3 picks that they got. I think they're going to be immediate contributors to the team. That's all you want.
Moving on from there, let's talk about a little bit about roster shakeup. Obviously, some big departures there with Darren Waller, Derek Carr, Rocky Sin, and Clelin Ferrell, who was a world-class bust. Notable additions, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Myers, Marcus Epps, and Marcus Peters now is the starting right corner on this team. But yeah, big losses in that, Derek Waller, Derek Carr, and Rocky Sin came over in the Unique Ngakoue trade. But yeah, the wall goes to the Giants. Derek Carr ends up taking his talents to New Orleans, and Rocky Sin, I do not remember where Rocky Sin, Baltimore maybe.
Clelin Ferrell, I believe. What is he on the Niners now, right?
Who?
The Clelin Ferrell. He's a Niner, if I'm not mistaken now, right?
Yeah, but he's not. good.
I think
So
Clelin Ferrell's a guy. I think Clelin Ferrell's a guy that right system. I think in San Francisco. I
He
think he
wasn't
could.
like
He's still young
it's
enough.
just a bad look. It's just a bad look because he was the fourth overall pick the year he got drafted, and he fell victim to the Raider reach, as
Um,
many have done before him.
they
yes,
also lost
absolutely.
Matt Collins, who was a good football player, wide receiver for them. Denzel Perriman, linebacker, who also now plays for the Houston Texans. They brought in Austin Hooper, who I do like at the tight end position. Um,
Getting some
I
depth
mean,
there.
this is a team that's going through it right now. They're good. This is a team that's should be rebuilding, but is not because they don't have. They didn't have an opportunity to take a quarterback in last year's draft unless they were going to trade up for him, and they just weren't going to do that. Um, I don't know what to make of their free agency and their roster shakeup. They've lost a lot of good football players.
Eh, man, it's almost like that. Jimmy Garoppolo's not a better quarterback than Derek Carr, in my opinion.
Thank you.
No, he's not.
Marcus Peters. If Marcus Peters can go back, can kind of rekindle. I mean, I know he was injured. I mean, if he can just return to the type of player that he used to be, I think that's a win right there.
But I
Definitely,
think
Jacoby
I think
Myers on
the
top of
injuries
Devontae Adams
have tapped him of his what because
a little bit.
because he could take a lot of risks because he was just so freaking athletic back in the day, but
Uh
now
huh.
he doesn't really have that because he's racked up a crazy amount of injuries.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and I think you probably should have kept Rockets in, or tried to at least. Um, and I mean, losing Darren Waller, that's a money thing, right? I mean, he's gonna go get his money elsewhere, and then you replace him with Michael Mayer, who I think is gonna be a hell of a tight end in
Yeah,
this
and
league.
you
So
got you got a third round pick for him. I think that's pretty good value.
No,
I just want to look at this free agency class. I'm sorry, CJ.
no, go ahead.
Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Thank
I
you.
mean, you could have. That's all I need to say. Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. This is a D plus, a D at most, because you have downgraded from one of the most important positions, probably the most important position on your football team.
And on top of that, you made Derek Carr so upset. You didn't even get to have you fumbled that situation so poorly that you didn't even get to get value for a guy who's going wasn't going to play for your team. You might as well try to trade him and get value. He refused to waive his no trade clause to help you out, so you could recover any draft capital because you did him dirty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And again, like every Raider fan wants to blame Derek Carr, or most Raider fans wants to blame Derek Carr for the Raiders' shortcomings during his tenure there, and no one wants to point out the fact that the organization never really helped him to the fullest extent. Derek Carr never had a top 20 defense when he was a starting quarterback for the Raiders. Never had a top 20 defense. So that tells me even if he had like a top 15 defense, maybe you go to the playoffs just a little bit more. Maybe you win the playoff game. You know, but no, you just want to blame him and all that other stuff. Like, it's not his fault that he goes down and he gets a go-ahead touchdown against the Kansas City Chiefs with a minute 45 left, and John Gruden's defense gives up the go-ahead touchdown right back in 30 seconds. Somehow that's Derek Carr's fault. Somehow, some
And
way, right?
we also don't know how good that Raider team was when he got injured, and they were already in the playoffs. I think he was something in his leg. He broke his leg like a game
Yeah,
or two before
like
the playoffs. We have
like
no
this.
way of knowing how good that team could have been. That could have been his moment.
Like, forget the fact that he won AFC Offensive Player of the Year that year. Like, forget that part, right? Like, that's just not important. It's just not important. And then all of a sudden, like you said, like he gets injured in a game, and all of a sudden it's up. Damn it, Derek Carr. It's like, how is that his fault? No, because you haven't been that good since. What'd you go, 12-4 that year? You haven't been
Yeah,
that good since.
or it probably will be a while before you ever are that good again. But yeah, when it comes to their roster shakeup and free agency, this is a straight D. Like, losing this kind of talent and replacing them with what they replaced them with, it's a D. Moving on from there, let's talk about the
Matt
schedule.
Collins and Matt Collins is dude, like he is bound for a one or two drug tests in his near future. Like, if you haven't seen Matt Collins, since he's been in Atlanta. Like, look at Matt Collins now versus what he looked like when he was with the Raiders. Like that's a drug test or two coming. Seriously.
Hey man, he's about to be part of the NFC South winning Atlanta Falcons.
You said Saints wrong, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Moving on for to the schedule. Just looking at it, what do you guys think the record's going to be as we go through each individual game? First, they go 2 Mile High and take on the Denver Broncos. How do you see that game shaking out for the Las Vegas Raiders?
David, how do we do? How do we say the Broncos are going to do? Did we give them did we give the Broncos this game?
Yeah, I had them sweeping the Vegas Raiders.
Okay, Izzy. So you got them on one. Right, they're on two.
We're being real here. Like looking at their schedule, and I'm just looking at their schedule. The only game that I think that they're going to win is where they beat Green Bay in Vegas, and they beat the Colts in Indy. I just can't imagine them winning any of these other games on the rest of the schedule.
Like in terms of winnable games, right? All right, winnable. Like games they have a legit shot at winning.
Yeah.
Right? Pittsburgh, that's 1. Green Bay, 2. New England, Chicago, the Giants maybe, and the Colts.
I think they beat Denver first week. I mean, until I see Denver.
Denver at home. Denver,
at Mile High.
Denver at
home. No. We said that. When did we say? We said that last year, right? We said that last year when Seattle went into Denver and beat them.
But your boy Nathaniel Hackett isn't making the calls anymore.
Oh no, oh man, David was having an aneurysm every week. Yeah, now you got Sean Payton there. I mean, until I see any improvement, have you seen any improvements out of Russell Wilson this past season?
I have not. I have
not. And Izzy's right. And Izzy's right. That's why I say, like, until we see Jordan Love against like legit ones trying to take his head off, that's a winnable game. Until we see the Bears offense ones against ones, that's a winnable game. Until we see Daniel Jones do it again for the Giants, that's a winnable game. Hell, even the Jets. Aaron Rodgers supposed to play in his first preseason game in like 6 years. Come Saturday.
I also think it's crazy that Baltimore lost their first preseason game in like 7 seasons. Like,
and but realistically, hey man, what? 6-11, 7-10.
Yeah,
I think they win 3 games. I think they beat Green Bay in Vegas. I think they beat the Colts.
I'm not giving them that bad.
And
I think they can beat the Patriots.
Do we think the Colts? I don't know. Every time I come on here, we always got these teams beat the Colts. We haven't no Jonathan Taylor.
No, I think New England get them. Like I think New England because like it's very rare that Belichick loses to his
disciples. Yeah, that's true.
To his disciples,
Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, Pittsburgh's a winnable game. I just don't think they're going to win it. I think one of those 2 games against the Chargers. I think they can beat the Chargers at the Death Star.
They can beat Minnesota at the Death Star too.
And they've proven that they can go toe-to-toe with Kansas City for like 46 minutes.
7 wins. I'll give the Raiders 7 wins. I'm gonna give them 7 wins.
7-10. Okay.
7-10. I'm gonna give them 7-10.
I'm gonna try to cook up 5 wins because 3 feels very disrespectful. So I'm sticking with that Packers prediction. I'm sticking with that Patriot prediction. I will have them also beat the Chargers and the Colts. And then I'll have them win. They split with
the Chargers. So you got them split with the Chargers.
But I don't want to be tied to this when we do this Chargers show on Thursday because I think the Chargers are going to sweep Las Vegas. I can only go 4 wins. I can only go 4 wins. I got them at 4-13. I can't go any higher than that. I think they beat Denver. Denver the last week of the season. They beat the Colts. They beat the Packers and they beat the Patriots.
Izzy, you said 7. Izzy, give me your 7. Give me your 7 wins for the Raiders right now. Give me your 7.
Denver week 1. Pittsburgh
win week 1.
I think they can beat Green Bay at home.
Okay.
I think New York a win. The Giants.
That's
I think
three.
Minnesota can win. That's four. That was four.
That's
I think
four. Okay, my bad.
Minnesota can win. That's five. I think they can split with the Chargers. That's six. I think they can beat the Colts. That's seven. And I don't know if they split with. It's hard for me to think. I don't know if they sweep Denver. I think they might split with Denver. So
Okay,
seven
I,
wins.
I I gave him. Hey, I'm in that boat. I'm leaning more so six than
Yeah,
seven. Like, all right, so
yeah.
I
And
got
I
him
think the
on.
Chargers can sweep them.
I got them 0-2 out the gate. I think they lose to Denver in Mile High, and I think they lose to Buffalo in back-to-back weeks. I think they can beat Pittsburgh, so that's one. Um, I can see them beating Green Bay, but I don't feel confident about it. But I'm gonna give it to them anyway. That's two. Same thing with New England. That's three. They split with. Do I see them split with the Chargers? No, not really. They can beat Chicago like again until we see the Packers and the Bears play like real legit competition. I'm gonna say what I've been saying. Like they can beat them, but I don't feel confident about it. So that's four. Maybe Minnesota. That's five. The Giants. That's six. And I legit don't see them having a shot at beating. I think the Chiefs sweep them. I think Denver sweeps them, and the Chargers wholeheartedly can sweep them. So like, hey, they gonna limp to the finish line with 6 or 7 wins.
I'm going with four. I think they win four
He's going
games.
4.
I think they're going to be the worst team in the AFC West. They're going to be a bottom. They're going to be picking in the top five. So they'll probably be
Like
in the
either
market for
way,
a
so like
quarterback.
check this out though. But check this out though. Either way, let's just say hypothetical, right? Since this is all, let's just say they somehow win 9 games. They go 9-8, right? That's still not good enough to make a wild card spot. So you're
100% not.
still coming up short.
But they're not making a wild card. They're not winning 9 games. I can't envision they winning 9 games on this schedule. But yeah, I have them winning 4 games.
I say that because like to the talking points you brought up earlier about Josh McDaniels on the hot seat. So like let's just say they go 9-8 and they miss the playoffs. Is he still on the hot seat? Because hey, that's a game that's a 1 or 2 game difference depending on how everything else shakes out.
I think if he were to win 9 games and have a winning record, he would survive. I think he'd make one. He would get one more year.
He would save him. Like he would get one more year with 9 wins.
Yeah. Even if they miss the playoffs, I think he would have one more season to try to, because I think with all the change there on that roster turnover, yeah.
Okay, now next question, right? Let's just say flip in, right? Let's just say, all right, hypothetical. Let's say by week 1, 2, 3, 4, by that Detroit week, they are 2-5 or 2-5 or 2-6, whatever. Right? Are the conversations about trading Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, are they picked back up? Are they revved up to the fullest extent?
Yeah, that's not already the trade deadline. Yeah, that's for sure happening.
Is he?
What was that again?
So like, let's just say by that Detroit Lions week, whatever week that is, like week 7, week 8, whatever, right? Let's just say the Raiders are like 2-6. It's just all bad. Are the trade talks for Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams picked back up?
Absolutely.
Would you consider trying to move Max Crosby too, or you got to have somebody?
No, I keep Max Crosby.
Keep Max Crosby.
Keeping Max Crosby. And yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs is disgruntled. Devontae Adams is like, why the hell am I here? I came here to play with my homeboy. You played him up. You let my homeboy gone, and I don't know. So can you guys trade me to my other homeboy, my old homeboy that I should have never left in the first place? That's Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. So yeah,
I don't see that.
See. Let me know down in the comment section how many wins you think the Raiders are going to have this season. I got them at 4. TJ's got them at 7. Izzy's got them at 7. I just can't imagine them winning 7 games.
Before we get up out of here, like so Vegas and it's I'm mad that Vegas is late to the sports world party outside of gambling, but Vegas is quote unquote up and coming in the sports world. You have a $1 billion stadium And Vegas, like Miami, like LA, if your teams ain't winning, they have no problem going to the strip and doing anything.
I mean, there are a lot of other things to do.
There are a
than
lot of other things to do in
the
Vegas than go
terrible
watch the
Raiders
Raiders
play.
lose.
At the Death Star.
In Vegas, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like you guys said, Miami, LA, Vegas. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to do all year round.
But this has been Prime Sports World. Thank you very much for checking us out. I'm David Huffman, CEO Israel Rivera, my co-host Mr. TJ Hopkins. We're taking tomorrow off. On Thursday, we're going to be doing the Los Angeles Chargers season preview, as we only have 2 teams left to get through. So keep checking out that content. Please like, share, and subscribe. And gentlemen, what do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring
the heat, baby.
And
Salute.
we just got 2 more days of this heat. We just got 2 more days of this heat.
I've had my fill of the heat for sure. You guys all have a good night. Stay safe out there. Peace out.
Peace out, man.